I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Greenwood Common Council on Wednesday, November the 6th. If you would stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance, and after the pledge, please remain standing. We'll be led in prayer this evening by Chaplain Britton Shellhorn of Victory Christian Church. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we're just so thankful that you have done so much for us. God, we're thankful for the wisdom of the council before us. God, we're thankful for the leadership of our mayor. We're thankful for the dedication of our city clerk, and we thank you for the wonderful citizens that are here in attendance. God, as we come out of an election season, we just present to you continued thanks that you allow us to live in a system where we can elect our own leaders. God, we thank you for each and every one of the people that have been elected to serve on this council and other elected positions. We thank you for their willingness to stand up and serve. And we ask that as they take their new roles and continued roles in the upcoming months, that you provide them with the wisdom and courage to do what is right for the people of this city. We also ask for prayers for those who ran and were not elected. Be with their troubled hearts during this time. We also give you thanks for their willingness to stand up and volunteer. And while they were not elected, we are thankful that there are people like them that were willing to stand up and serve, for there are very few willing to do so. With the elections behind us, God, we ask that you continue to provide your love and support to our great city. God, give us your wisdom to move forward and to enjoy another successful 4 years and beyond. As we are nearing Veterans Day, God, we give you thanks for the many men and women who have answered our nation's call to service. With those individuals currently serving, making up less than 1% of our nation, we know that they leave a lasting impact. May you protect those individuals that are serving around the world and be with those who have served that we may call veterans, as well as their families. God, we are a grateful city, a grateful state, and a grateful nation. In your loving name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. You may be seated. Roll call.
Armstrong.
Here.
Bates.
Present.
Campbell.
Here.
Dine.
Here.
Foster.
Here.
Gibson. Here. Hill.
Here.
Hopper.
Here.
And Lexington.
Present.
We do have a quorum. All of you should have received a copy of the minutes from our last regular meeting of October 21. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Bates. Second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Lexi. Any additions, deletions, or corrections? Seeing a roll call on the minutes?
Armstrong.
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Dine.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Gibson. Aye. Hill.
Aye.
Hopper.
Aye.
And Lexington.
Aye.
Minutes are approved and voted 9-0. Reports, Corporation Council.
Just one thing, you should have received a litigation report from my office as well as the IDEM semi-monthly report. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them or refer them to the city attorney.
All right. Mr. Controller.
I have one thing I wanted to report on the bonds that this council authorized recently, the new money for the Worsfield Road project and the field house, as well as the refunding of the 2010 bonds. We had that bond sale today. Our interest rate is now 2.11%, which is great savings for us, especially on the refunded bonds. It works out to just under $250,000 saved over the remaining life of those. So appreciate the council's work on that as well.
Thank you for that information. Thank you. That's great. All right, any committee or board reports?
Mr. President, I'd just like to make everyone aware that the social has their ribbon cutting scheduled for next Tuesday, November the 12th from 10 to 12.
All right. Anything else? All right, seeing none, I believe the Johnson County Trails people are here for a presentation.
Good evening. My name is
Carmen Parker, and I'm the chair for Johnson County Trails, and I just want to provide you with an update on a little bit about who we are and what we've been doing over the last 3 years. It's hard to believe it's been 3 years, but looking back, it's gone pretty quickly. So our group is a volunteer grassroots organization that started again 3 years ago and quickly affiliated with the Johnson County Development Corporation's community development arm, the Aspire Johnson County. And quickly we identified, I had a passion for trails and wanted more trails, but we quickly identified that you can't do much without a plan. And so our group really worked for the last couple of years to figure out how do we get money for a plan, who wants to fund a plan, and how do we move this forward. The county did not have a comprehensive trail plan as they were going through their thoroughfare update. They did include trails or kind of made mention of trails, but didn't have specific paths identified. So last year we actually were awarded a grant from the Opus Foundation, which is the Opus group that has their foundation that has a development here in the Greenwood area. So we were awarded a $40,000 grant. We were one of 9 organizations across the United States that received a grant, so that was pretty significant for our group that was just getting started. And as you all know, that plans cost a lot more than $40,000. So me having a nonprofit background, I was looking at how can I do less with, or how can I do more with less. So we happened to come across an architect from an engineering firm that was looking to go out on his own. And he had been, actually I believe he had done some work on the Greenwood, or his firm that he was with had done some work on some Greenwood trails back in the day. And so he was going out on his own. We were able to bring him on board for the $40,000 and start a phase 1 for a comprehensive trail plan for the county. The goal for this plan, this phase of the plan, was connectivity. How do we connect all of our communities within Johnson County with a little bit more emphasis on the White River Township area. So we know that Greenwood and Franklin have a pretty extensive trail network, and Rob and Mayor Myers have done a great job of pushing those trails forward. But we wanted to figure out how could we get folks from southern Marion County safely to Greenwood, and how can we get people from Greenwood down to Franklin or even Edinburgh. So really we took this summer to do all of the collection of information and inventory that was currently in Johnson County, and put together a couple of focus groups, some stakeholders, and Rob Taggart attended some of those on behalf of Greenwood, and really put together what we thought was a good start. Again, for the amount of money that we spent on a plan, we'll have to make do with what we did, but we've got 168 miles of proposed trails, so that's a good start, because looking at what trails cost to put in the ground, we've got a lot of fundraising to do. So of that 90 some miles are paved paths, and then the remaining are on-road shared roadways, so that would require some paint and signage as far as notifying motorists that there may be bicycles on the road. So that's kind of where we're at. Our next phase, our next kind of steps, is we set some priority trails. We did some criteria scoring to identify some of those priorities, and starting to have some conversations on, okay, how do we pay for these? The county was graciously adopted the plan, but we did all the work for them. But they were supportive along the way, and both the Plan Commission and the county commissioners did a great job of helping us spread the word, and they were excited for us to do this for them. So we've got some priorities. We also are looking at a phase 2 that would help smaller communities, or help communities that may already have trail plans, but what can we do as again, a grassroots organization. Our focus is now kind of turned to that fundraising, advocacy. We've got I-69 coming through, and we've met with the highway department to say what can we do to help. So really trying to advocate for trails, advocate for upgraded roadways that would include trails. So I just wanted to kind of provide you guys with an update. Like I said, Mayor Myers and Rob have done a great job of helping me along the way. I have to give extra kudos to Rob. I don't know a thing about building trails, and and all of it that it entails. I just want them, and so he's done a great job of helping me learn as I go. So appreciate the time. Just wanted to give you guys an update, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yeah, I have a question. You mentioned that you all have set priorities. Is that priorities on the trails that you want to build? And can you give me the top 3?
Oh gosh. So a majority of them, of the top ones, are in that Morgantown, Smith Valley, as the county did update their thoroughfare plan, and as I-69 is coming through, they did kind of already set trails to be a part of that. There's a small section on the west side of where the proposed 69 is, that we're looking at connecting it to. There's a rookery over on the west side near the White River. So those are a couple of the priorities, as well as where your trail ends at Summerfield Park. And as you're doing the Horseville kind of upgrade, our folks down in New Whiteland would love to see that trail go along that legal drain a little bit further to come down to Proctor Park in New Whiteland, and we actually have it proposed to go all the way down to Franklin, following that legal drain for the majority of that. So those are kind of the top priorities, but as you all know, as development kind of occurs, priorities may shift, or as funding comes available, not necessarily in this part of the county, but in the southern part of the county. They can qualify for Okra. So as we kind of come across some grants and funding opportunities, those priorities may shift.
And wanted to ask a question about obstacles. I'm sure money is one of your biggest obstacles, and you just mentioned some of the funding sources. But other than money, what are some of the obstacles, say, to creating a link between Greenwood and Franklin? Is it land acquisition or?
Yes.
Yeah.
The people, educating and advocating for trails. I've worked in a lot of nonprofit, and I find that when a new person comes into town, they're like, okay, how long is she gonna be here, and what does she want? Those are the folks that I try to make, I call them my best friends. Like, they're the people that don't like us, they're the people that wanna give the most resistance, and I know that I'm biting off a lot, and I'm new to the game when it comes to this, but I may not be the right person to be having those conversations with those folks, but I'm not afraid to figure out who are those right people to have conversations with them. And I would say that land acquisition, and then obviously funding the trail are the two biggie, like, kind of obstacles. But if it's not now, maybe it'll be later, and when people first look at the plan, they're like, you're gonna put all these trails, okay, it's 168 miles, and if, let's just say 100 of them are paved paths, and an average of what a trail costs per mile is, let's say $800,000, and that's, if it's not federal dollars, that's a lot of money. So, it's something that, as you all know, a plan is not something that happens overnight, and priorities change, and we just, my whole goal is to leave the community, and I mean more than where I live, leave this community better than where I found it, and collaboration. So the municipalities have done a great job. Rob has attended meetings, I've brought him down to Whiteland, and different things, and that's what's been cool about this program, or this project, is that we've all come together in agreement that we need more of this. We need more trails.
All right. Anyone else have a question?
Yeah, your fourth page of the presentation that we received
Okay.
has a bunch of different colors of trails, and it looks like the orange are your highest priority.
Yes.
And so you're wanting to extend Tracy Ditch Trail and the 31 trail as your first two priorities?
So the 31, the dashed, that is Franklin, it's city limit to city limit, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
That is a project that's already in process in collaboration with the city of Franklin. They're actually redoing their bike ped plan, and it's in collaboration with the city of Franklin and NDOT. They have proposed paved paths on both sides of 31 from city limit to city limit. And my hopes, I actually work with the town of Whiteland, my hopes we go ahead and we bring that on up through Whiteland and New Whiteland to come up to Greenwood. So I know that there's been additional conversations that I haven't been involved in, but there have been some additional conversations on how to bring those as a huge connector. And that was back a while ago. That was part of the Indiana Backbone Trail that the state kind of put on the back burner, and it's now not even in the state's kind of their master, what they think is a master trail plan, but we still feel that that's a good thoroughfare. It'll be tough because it's already developed, but that's what the one in Franklin.
All right, any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Parker.
All right, I appreciate the time. Thanks.
At this time, we set aside an opportunity for members of the audience to address the council concerning items that are on the agenda. So if you're here tonight and would like to address the council concerning something that is on the agenda, please step to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and there is a 5-minute time limit. Anyone? All right, seeing none, moving on, ordinances and resolutions. There's a request from the now trail expert, Mr. Taggart, to walk on ordinance 1942. Do you have a motion to walk that on tonight?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Lexi, second. Second by Mr. Dine. We will walk that on and put it on the agenda at the end under introduction. I don't want to make you wait. Well, we'll do that when it comes up on the agenda. All right, there are none under notice of intent to consider. First reading, resolution 1928.
Resolution number 1928, a resolution approving an interlocal agreement between the City of Greenwood and Clark Pleasant Community School Corporation regarding construction and installation of roads to provide access to jointly used parking, sponsored by Councilwoman Gibson.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Gibson, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Dine. Any discussion on the council? Seeing none, roll call, or resolution 1928, first reading.
Armstrong,
Aye.
Bates,
Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Dine,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Gibson,
Aye.
Hill, Hopper,
Aye.
and Lexi.
Aye.
Resolution 1928 passes first reading 9-0. Second reading, resolution 1923.
Resolution number 1923, a resolution establishing holidays for employees of the City of Greenwood for the year 2020, sponsored by Councilwoman Gibson.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Gibson, second by Mr. Lexi. He beat you to it. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, resolution 1923, second reading.
Bates,
Aye.
Campbell,
Aye.
Dine,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Gibson,
Aye.
Hill, Hopper,
Aye.
Lexi,
Aye.
and Armstrong.
Aye.
Resolution 1923 passes second reading 9-0. Resolution 1927.
Resolution number 1927, a resolution of the Greenwood Common Council expressing interest in the purchase of certain real properties for stormwater management, sponsored by Councilman Hill.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Dine, second by Mr. Hopper. Any discussion?
Where are these properties again? In question?
They will be listed in the resolution itself. The copy should be provided and under section 1, all the addresses are
I see
listed
it,
there.
okay.
All right. Any other questions or discussion?
I have a question. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I have a question for Mr. Jones. Some of these addresses on Riverside, when I drove through there, it looked like it was half of a double. Is that possible?
On which one? I mean, there's several
I
dozens.
couldn't find my notes that I had written when I went through there.
We wouldn't buy just half of a house.
Okay, I
We would
didn't
buy
think
the
so.
entire one.
Okay, I'll have to go
A
through
couple
there.
of them have duplicate addresses, because they're either a condo or horizontal property regime.
Okay, I'll go back through.
It looks like there's 765 Riverside has 765, 765B and C, And 775 Riverside has that and B.
Correct.
That's probably what you're talking about.
No, these were more of a double, Bruce. I just need to find my note and fly through there again.
It says here that there's a grant that has been obtained.
Correct.
And how much is that grant for?
We haven't got it completely through Homeland Security. It hasn't been released from Homeland Security, but it's a $3 million grant thereabouts.
And how much matching funds is going to be?
Stormwater Department is going to match 25% or by 25%. The federal grant is for 75% of the project.
Not subject to, all these are in floodplain.
Correct. To be eligible, you have to be in the floodplain, and it's a 100% voluntary program.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions?
We need an address for the one on Academy Street, or does the parcel number do that?
The one on Academy Street does not have an address.
Yeah, it is a vacant lot,
Oh, okay.
and I think we're going to purchase that outside the grant. Stormwater funds.
All right. Now, just to make it clear, depending on the amount in the grant is how many of these we will purchase. This is just to show that we are, by law, we are expressing an interest in them. It's not a promise to buy them. Is that correct? Okay. All right.
And
Thank you.
they've expressed an interest in buying and selling them, rather.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, we have a notice of voluntary interest signed by
Yes.
every property owner.
All right. All right. Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, roll call. Resolution 1927, second reading.
Campbell,
Aye.
Dine,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Gibson,
Aye.
Hill.
Aye.
Hopper.
Aye.
Lexi,
Aye.
Armstrong,
Aye.
and Hicks.
Aye.
Resolution 1927 passes second reading 9-0. Ordinance 1941.
Ordinance number 1941, an ordinance amending chapter 6, article 6 of the Greenwood Municipal Code 1993 edition as amended to amend certain provisions of nuisance law regarding vegetation and penalties, sponsored by Campbell and Bates.
Have a motion? Motion, Mr. Lexi. Second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Bates. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call. Resolution 1941, second reading.
Dine,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Gibson,
Aye.
Hill. Hopper.
Aye.
Lexi,
Aye.
Armstrong,
Aye.
Bates,
Aye.
and Campbell.
Aye. Resolution 1941 passes second reading 9-0. New business, introduction to new ordinances and resolutions.
Ordinance number 1942, an ordinance transferring funds within the Parks Fund for the Parks and Recreation Department from budget category 445, an amount of $7,322 to budget category 229, and sponsored by Campbell, and Mr. Rob Taggart is here to present the resolution and answer your questions.
Several months ago, we underwent rebranding, some of the wayfinding signs throughout the city. It was a good program, and while we were doing it, while it was already in the contract, obviously there was spots that was very noticeable we missed. For example, one of the spots that I noticed I missed was Green Springs sign wasn't double-sided. It was single-sided, so we asked that outside the contract to rectify that and fix that. And then while it was already done, we had a few more DAPA spots come online to add on to additional signs on that. And then we identified some more street and trail crossings for pedestrian crossings. So that's why we have the disparity in costs, and that's what we're asking for the $7,322 transfer from the 400 series to the 200 series.
Any questions for Mr. Taggart? All right, there is a request that we suspend the rules through first reading. So do I have a motion for suspension?
Point of order, Mr.
Yes.
We had a first and a second earlier, but we never did vote.
No, that was to walk it on.
What would we haven't approved walking it
We didn't vote to walk it on.
on? No, sir.
All in favor of walking it on, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. All right, now that it's on the agenda, I apologize.
Do I have to say all that again?
Yeah, no. Do I have a motion for suspension of the rules?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Gibson, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Dine. Any discussion? Roll call on suspension.
Foster.
Aye.
Gibson.
Aye.
Hill. Hopper.
Aye.
Lexi.
Aye.
Armstrong.
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
And Dunn.
Aye. Rules are suspended through first reading. Do I have a motion for first reading?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Gibson, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Dine. Any discussion? Seeing a roll call, ordinance 1942, first reading.
Gibson.
Aye.
Hill. Hopper.
Aye.
Lexi.
Aye.
Armstrong.
Aye.
Bates.
Aye.
Campbell.
Aye.
Dunn.
Aye.
And Foster.
Aye.
Ordinance 1942 passes first reading 9-0. Thank you, Mr. Taggart. Miscellaneous business. At this time, is an opportunity for anyone in the audience to address the council concerning business that is not on the agenda. So if you're here tonight and wish to address the council, please step forward to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and there's a 5-minute time limit. Sir?
And, my name is Robert Bitterman. I've been a resident of Greenwood, Indiana for over 24 years. And we pride ourselves on the community that we have and the safety of family, the family-oriented community. And it's just a wonderful place. I think Greenwood probably has the best fire department. It probably has the best police department in the entire state of Indiana. This is a great place. It's a very, very safe place, except for the sidewalks in Glen Oaks Commons. I'm 75 years old. I'm a perfectly fit person, but I cannot run. My dog and I power walk. I average 4 miles an hour. I would bet that many of you could not make 4 miles an hour. That's hauling. When I tripped as hard as somebody who would have hit me with a baseball bat. You could have put a green pea or a black-eyed pea in that wound. It went all the way down to the bone. They couldn't take any stitches up here because I'd already had that from an automobile accident when I was a young kid. But I'm now taking therapy. I've dislocated my shoulder. I've dislocated my left meniscus. I've torn my knee up. And I tripped again a second time. Some of these sidewalks are 2 inches out of elevation. ADA in 1994 says anything over 1/4 of an inch in pedestrian access right-of-way is a trip hazard. There's over 60 of them on my 2-mile course. We placed with the city of the street department, came out and he was very, very nice, and we placed 26 barrels on a 1-mile course. The neighbors are already moving the barrels. Some of them have disappeared. I have requested to be able to talk with someone to get this thing done with a little sense of urgency. At $300, which is way over the average price of mud jacking, is what they call it. They're using a polyurethane now, or foam, instead of cement. It's less than $300 per section to be fixed. At 60 sections, that's only $18,000. That's not an awful lot of money on some of the other projects that Greenwood spends for the safety of their citizens, just so that we can run, walk, push our strollers, have access. The paradox of all of this is that when you touch a city street, you're supposed to build curb access ramps, the real pretty ones that we have all over our neighborhoods now. Problem with that is once you get a wheelchair up, you can't get past the sidewalks. Here we are coming up right now where we've got some sections where there's orange construction barrels placed on a sidewalk next to a pond, next to a girder, and I saw a young father with papoose carrying on his son, pushing the empty stroller, 2 kids following him in a tricycle, and they almost fell in the pond trying to get around the barrels. There is a sense of urgency. There's also a sense of aggravation from the homeowners. It's a nice neighborhood. It's an upscale neighborhood. Barrels look hideous. And I think they're really an impediment to safe traffic in their own right, as well as trying to calm. I beg the city council with urgency to get this fixed before the snow season moves in. I can do the contracting for you, or I can do all the soliciting. I am being stonewalled. I cannot talk with anybody except legal, because I turned in an accident report, and they turned it into a tort report. Well, I'm not getting any response from anybody. I paid my taxes here for 24 years. I don't even have a traffic ticket. But I did fall, and I did fall twice in the same neighborhood in 2 different areas. I've also got a brain cyst. I am not a qualified candidate to take a hit like that. It's a miracle I'm alive. I go to Campbell Brain and Spine every year to monitor my cyst. I am not a candidate for this type of accident. As it is today, all I can do is walk and watch my sidewalk for 40 minutes. My dog and I. That's all I get to do anymore. I don't enjoy my walks anymore. I've got to make sure I don't trip. And I guess that's all I've got to say. I just beg everyone to find less than $20,000 in Glen Oaks Commons, which seems to be the worst sidewalks in that whole area between Main Street, Meadowview, and Fry Road. There's some sections that are still impassable. Even the curb accesses are still impassable. They don't even conform to any ADA. All this verbiage on the back and the front is all the requirements by state and federal that are asking, or actually they're requiring.
Sir, I'm sorry, your 5 minutes is up.
Okay,
Thank you.
done, thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, give me your name again, I'm sorry, I didn't catch.
All right, miscellaneous business council, a couple things I have. All of you should have received copies of the proposed schedule of meetings for 2020. Anybody have any questions about that? If it's your pleasure, I would entertain a motion to accept that for next year. Motion by Mr. Dine, second by Mr. Lexi. Any discussion, any questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, that will be our schedule. Also, coming up, just to be thinking about this, and I will get you a written list before, at least by our first meeting in December. But on our first meeting in January, we have several appointments that we'll be making to new boards and commissions. And more so than normal, because some of the appointments are 4-year appointments. And so the BZA will be coming up for appointment, and that's a 4-year appointment. Of course, Plan Commission, we do that every year. It's not going to be in January, but in March of next year, we have an appointment to the Fire and Police Merit Boards, 1 each. Those are 4-year appointments. We have a 4-year appointment to the Library Board. The RDC, we do that every year. Waste Management, Social, and the Greenwood Community Development Corporation are all 1-year appointments. Most likely, most of the people who are on that will want to do that again. We'll find that out. But we'll be, if you have somebody else that you would like to be considered for one of those, be thinking about that, and we will do that the first night, our first meeting in January 2020, which I believe, according to schedule, is January 6th. Yeah, RDC. And congratulations to those who won the elections yesterday. So, my personal congratulations. Anything else from the council?
Mr. President, I would like to see someone within the city make up a list of some of the more common acronyms that we use. I know I found that to be something difficult when I first came on the council, so I think that would be nice to have
Okay.
for the new
All right.
members coming on.
We could have acronym session for the new counselors.
There is a list from some of the training.
Okay. All right, anything else from the council? Anything else from the council? Anything from the corporation council?
No.
Anything from the controller? Anything from the mayor? We are adjourned. Thank you.